Okay guys, it's Rev here with Revolutionary Tattooing. And so today we're working on something and I'm giving you guys the scoop on it because it's kind of important. It has to do with circumferential, tattoos that go around something. And these can be a little tricky because just especially like say a forearm, because in a forearm you're going down. I'm gonna make it bigger. I'll go ahead and make it bigger, the image so you can see what's going on, I guess. So these can be tricky because they're going around, but as you're doing multiple layers and lines, the diameter of the forearm going towards the wrist is going to be less and less area. So it's going to be smaller down here than it is up here. So you can imagine if you're trying to put a stencil on here, you're going to really have a difficult time, especially the larger the diameter changes from there to there. So this client is a small arm, it's a little easier. But now imagine if you had a 8.5 by 11 or whatever it is stencil, 8 inches long. This circumference is less than that, or whatever. It's 10-inch stencil. So imagine trying to put, a piece of paper, around somebody's arm, and it's huge like this, right? And you're trying to get this thing around a small arm, and then it's overlapped. So, then you have a stencil, and the stencil is, this thing. And so what do you do here? You sort of get it wrapped around and make a bracelet. But, this could kind of work, yes. But as you can see, now you're dealing with a lot of these things that end up being these angles that, it's off kilter, and this thing is not going this way, it's going at an angle. And so there's a couple of different ways to do these circumferential tattoos. And it's just one of those things where, once again, we're back to the same thing we did on the other video where we talked about professionalism of tattooing, I guess. And the first thing is that you have an idea, a concept, right? We went over that. Then somebody is going to want the stencil, the outline. Then they're going to do flash, which is the finished result, the outline. So I'm going to go over all that real quick. So she's had this tattoo done already, all right? And you can see there's some rough edges and stuff like that. It's very good. Oops. I've looked at it. It's hard to see here. I'm going to probably shoot video another time. But this is very even as far as distance-wise goes, from here to here, say. The thing is even all the way around. There's some rough edges, so we're going to go in here and we're going to fix up these sort of rough edges, okay? A little bit of spacing issue here. These are really hard tattoos to do, believe it or not, because it's hard to line it all up and make it the right distance, and there's a lot going on when you do a circumference. You're going around something. And trying to explain that to you, it's much easier if you're going even, say, halfway around something. It's easy to take a stencil of something and lay it down, halfway. It doesn't have to marry up. Once you start doing a circumferential tattoo that is going to go from one side and marry up to the other side, now you're talking about these lines have got to line up, especially when you're getting into detail spacing and things like that. It's a 1/4 inch, spacing, and how do you get it a 1/4 inch? And then you have to also tattoo and really stretch the skin and stay on your lines, you know what I mean? And this is hard, actually really hard tattooing, it's moderate. And so she wants to add more bands to the tribal tattoo armband. So this is what she has. It's very good actually, except for, like I said, you know, the dimensions are good. This was meant to be a step down sort of tattoo. You have, I think it's like 2 inches, 1.5 inch, 1 inch. It's a ½ inch step down. So, and these are, I think, a quarter of an inch or something like that, a quarter, I don't know, I think quarter of an inch or something like that. And so, or eighth of an inch or something, whatever it is. And so we're going to continue this down to about, this is her wrist right here. We already had her shaved, so she had a little blood there. But we're gonna drop this tattoo. So this is the concept, beginning part. What do you want, right? So we're gonna come clean up these lines a little bit that already exist here, because as you see, get real close. You know, they're a little wavy, right? You see that they're a little bit. Oops, they're a little bit wavy. It was a cover-up tattoo, so this is actually some background tattoo. Might put a little red in there again, but it's hard to cover up some darker colors. So this was actually a cover-up tattoo. But you know, there's some wave in there. It'd be real easy to come with a 3-liner on here and cover that gap up. So we can come clean this up real good, make it real nice. You know, it's pretty good on this edge. We'll just, you know, maybe come with that 3-liner and clean this up really good. And then we can hit the tattoo that she actually came to us for, to complete this sort of armband. So you have the concept again. We've spoken about this before. We go from concept, you know, she wants that cleaned up. She wants to have a tribal continuation of this armband. So it's, you know, we drew up this design, measured the distance from where she wants it to start to where she wants it to go. All right. It doesn't matter what that number is. You just need to understand and know that you need to, and this is why I do this, because, you know, this specific tattoo, you'll come across this at some point, you know, you want to do this. And it's going to come down to, you need to know the distance from the end of the tattoo where it ends to as far as you would really like to go. And she's going to go about up to here, up to about right here or something like this above this bone. All right. And so we need to put something in that space. It's about right here, you know, so it's from about right here to the edge of this to about right here. And so that's 2 3/4 inch, whatever. It doesn't matter how much it is. Just get the measurement from there to there and know what it is. Then you get on your Procreate program and you start developing these lines. So I ran this one backwards actually, and what I did was this is what I did. So you can see this is what this is going to look like on her. So we're going to come about a ½ inch down, and this is about a ½ inch, this top black line. And we're going to come about a ½ inch down, so it kind of has that look. And so actually this was 2 inches, this was 1.5 inches, this is 1 inch, and then the next one's going to be ½ inch. So we kind of followed the pattern and then kind of free floated some tribal lines and stuff. And the distance of all of that, we're going to give it about a ½ inch spacing, right? And then that ½ inch top black one, and then we're going to feed it all the way down to here. It's going to go to about. And so we're going to drop that on her right there. And so this is a quick video to show you, you know, basically we did the same thing though. You know, we saw what the concept, just like my last video talked about, making flash and making stencils. And it starts out with the concept first. And what do you want from us? Why, you know, or you as a customer, what are you looking for? Or you as a tattoo artist, what do you want to do? What is it you're supposed to be doing? And the concept was she wants this cleaned up. So she wants this tattoo cleaned up. She wants this tattoo cleaned up in these areas that are fuzzy, and she wanted to continue some sort of tribal tattooing. So concept was down. Okay, what is it going to, the spacing, we measured it all, like I said. We actually worked it backwards and did a stencil or a flash first so you could see what it's going to look like, sort of, and then we created out of that. I went over the lines again on a layer and made sure that, or actually, yeah, made sure that we had a stencil, an outline. And so it just says I have a bunch of lines, but at the end of the day, this is why we go to the customer. This is what it's going to look like. You're good with that. And it's kind of funny because we're here, and you could actually kind of, if you really played with it, you could, I didn't even realize this at the time, I guess, but you could actually probably look and see what it looks like on there, you know, if you really got to playing with the thing. You could, you know, really kind of match it up or something like that, onto the thing, and actually kind of probably see what it would look like on there. I'm gonna play with it just because I'm strange like that, I guess. But you know, and you can do something like that, and you can kind of, you know, kind of see what this is gonna look like on the actual skin. If you really, you know, wanted to play with something, you know, you could kind of, you know, get an idea what that's going to look like on there. So I don't know, this is just kind of stuff I do messing around, but this is generally what it's going to look like. You know, we're going to have that on there. So lots of different things you could do in Procreate and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you know, this is the you go concept, flash, you go concept, flash, or concept, outline, and then you go to your flash, and that's what we've done. And then from your outline, you print this, and once you print that, you're going to have this is going to be your copy paper is going to come out, and then you're going to make yourself a stencil. And this is the stencil paper with the ink. And we're going to put the stencil on her. Remember which side's up and which side's down. You're dealing with lines that have no black. The stencil's upside down right now. Flip it over, you know, and you can see the line. This is up. We want that thick top black line. And I mean, you know, I was in the medical field for a long time. You know, you don't want to operate on the wrong leg and stuff. So, you know, this is just a marker or whatever, you know, maybe T for top or something like that, you know, on the paper. You actually, you know, put the T or something so you don't mess it up. And then I'm going to measure the circumference of her arm, and then, you know, say it's 6 inches. I'm going to make a line in the middle here, you know, probably on the back of this paper. Make a line down the middle. And I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to go 3 inches on this side of the line that I make, 3 inches on this side of the line that I make, maybe just a little extra so that it's the exact 6 inches, and taper it down if somebody has a big forearm. And so that when this wraps around, the two edges are going to meet or be very close to meeting. And actually shorter is better. And you want to, you know, kind of marry it up and get it close, and as close as you can get it to perfect. You know, it's just look at that. I mean, you can see through there, hopefully, but you can see the lines are not married up. You want these lines, they have to be married up. Okay? And so short is good because they're close, and make sure they're close. But, you know, over too, as long as it's on the line. But if you end up short, you can go back to the routine that I mentioned before of using these skin pins, and, you know, say you come up short, your lines go to, you know, here and here and, you know, here and here, but they're lined up. You know, it's very easy, obviously, to come across with, you know, their skin pin and create these lines, basically. So once again, say, you know, you tried to wrap that thing around and it ends up like this and like this. Okay, you can easily bridge that gap with not too much artistic ability and make it, you know, pretty straight and full. If you end up, and these skin pins work amazing, you know, they're almost exactly like a stencil. If you come up with something like this, let me show you, hold on. If you come up with something at the end of the day, it's my jerry-rig thing until I get my, what do you call it? Tripod or whatever the thing's called. So when you do these lines here, you want to end up in the circumference. You want lines to obviously, you know, marry up the two of them, right? And you want them to marry up and be consistent. As you're going around the circumference, you could have one side of the arm where it's coming around like this, and then this is coming around from this side, right? And it's like this. You know, you're not matched up. You really have to take the stencil off and do it again. These lines have got to come around and be fluid just like that around your object. They cannot be like this and this one coming like this. It doesn't work. You might be able to maybe make it like that, but you also say this is somebody's wrist. You know, this thing now is, you know, way up here, and this thing is way down here. So even though you can marry them up, now you have, you know, a different gap. You start to set two, and it's like, oh shit, when I look at it from this side now over here at an angle, it's this upward thing. It's got to be, you know, this uniform look. All right, not this, because this will end up with problems. And you can't fix this by coming back and going, oh yeah, let me use my skin pen and just kind of do that, because the gap from here and the gap from here is going to be very different. So now you're going to have a skewed tattoo going around the circumference. It just has to marry up, and it has to just be that perfect circumference, you know, circumference thing, you know. And if you do get them married up like this, and it's going to be a perfect thing, but you have a gap, you know, don't try to stretch the skin and tattoo that. You can really get this cockeyed. So what you would do is, if you did have this perfectly marrying up like that and it was short, make sure you use a skin pen or something, even a marker, whatever you got to do, so that when you stretch that skin, you get it and you let it go and it's married up. Don't try to complete even the smallest area just freehanding it and trying to link these up. You'll end up with something like this, you know what I mean? You'll think you're doing a great job, you know, and instead of making a mark and stretching it and doing it, I can just freehand this, and you're gonna end up with, you know, some shit like that. So those are my advices on circumferential tattooing, and kind of how we made the stencil and how we did everything. And I hope that's helpful to you. This is my stencil. I'm going to cut it shorter to her size of her wrist to get it closer. The longer this thing is and the more you try to put it around something, especially if it's somebody with a tapered forearm, you know, you're going to get this misalignment that goes on here. And so the closer I can get this to the person's actual size, okay, and taper it down even, you know, so somebody has, you know, 4-inch forearm here or 6-inch here, and it's, you know, 5.5 here. You can make your 6 inches here, your 4.5 line here, you know, cut this thing at an angle and get it to where it's marrying up. It's challenging to do circumferential tattoos to me, and hopefully these pointers will help you. And we'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Hit the subscribe button, you know, to follow us. Be doing everything tattooing and just showing you guys how everyday tattooing, how it works. Professional tattooing, respecting people, doing quality work, and that's what we're about. So subscribe, like, comment, and whatnot. So thanks for watching Revolutionary Tattooing. Have a good one. All right, so I'll lay down this stencil, and if you look at the stencil, it's very good. Look at those lines and kind of where it's sitting. We figured out that there was some variance here that needed to be corrected, so we have a 1/2 inch here, and if you look at it all the way around, it's a 1/2 inch. it looks good. Just kind of look at that top line. It looks uniform. So we did notice that this black line was off a little bit. The other parts are not off because I took, it's hard to explain, but I took a, let me see, I'll get closer. I took a measurement, a half an inch from the top, the black line, and half inch. If you look at the dots, they're kind of scattered, up, down, and it has to do with the fact that this tattoo black one was not circumferentially correct. So if you look at the difference between this line right here, this purple line, stencil, the black dot, the difference of distance, and you look at the distance of difference between the black line and the purple skin pin line I drew, they're the same distance. And so we're going to correct this black and make it circumferentially correct. And it was off a bit. It's just the way it was. So we're going to fix that and lay down these other lines for the tribal band. And just wanted to show you the stencil, how it turned out, and we'll get on this. And I'll let you know what I used as far as a liner and a shader, and show you the finished product. Alright guys, so I wanted to show you this tattoo real quick that we did. And so it's still healing, it's peeling, so or it's just been a few days. So up here, I was telling you guys where this upper line or this lower line on this original tattoo didn't line up, so there was some gap, so we filled it in, and it's healing up real good. It's a nice edge on it. Also came over, like I told you, and cleaned these up with a 3-liner. They were a little bit jaggedy and still a little swelling, but looks a little maybe off, but this is gonna peel and this is gonna be perfect. But we got good lines now in here. We put a good top line on this thing, and we did this band that I was showing you. It turned out really good. And so that's what we have. Like I said, some of this looks a little jaggedy maybe, but I can feel it. It's rough and it's still healing, but these lines are actually really lined up pretty good, and the tattoo looks good. So I want to show you the finished result and how it looks, and it's healing up. A little bit of dark behind there. That was a cover up, so can't help too much of that dark behind that red, but maybe hit it again with red later. But I want to show you guys how we cleaned up, and the biggest part is this spacing is even. If you look at it all the way around, all the spacing is even, the edges are good, and these lines, like I said, they're a little bit rough feeling, so it's still healing up, and this will kind of peel and this will fall together real nice, and this is a good tattoo.